Thank you all for coming. We have quite a few people on Zoom, and we appreciate carving out part of your time today at the Municipal League Conference. My name is Bill Tackett. I work for OMAG, and we have put together a group of folks that can update you on some things related to natural gas utility systems and some of the things that OMAG are doing. I want to quickly introduce some people in the audience for you today. First of all, I want to introduce Susie Paulson. She's Executive Director of OMAG. She's been doing that job for about a year. She came out of Oklahoma City's attorney office, and without Susie's support, none of what I'm going to provide for you today would be possible. So we have her support, and we appreciate that. We have several OMAG board members here today, and they're the ones that Susie has to convince that my latest idea is worth pursuing. We have Daniel from Chicago, we have Tim from Midwest City, we have Craig from Ponca, and we have Vicki from Broken Bow, and we have Pam Polk, who is fixing to be the head duck of the Municipal League next year. So she's missed everything, all world. Pam Polk's the manager of Collinsville. And Lindsay's our newest board member from El Reno. And you all appreciate you all's support and the resources you guys provide as well. The people we have in the room today, we have Tom Ryder with MISO and Oklahoma Gas Association. Tom's a stalwart and a fixture around for a long, long time. In the back is Steve Garrett. He's a member of our team. We have Randy McClure, who will be our first speaker. We'll show a short video. He's with McClure Management. We have Buford Pollard, who is a professor at the University of Tulsa. He's also an attorney licensed in several states who specializes in energy sector law. And we have Tom Singh, who is got 30 years in the energy trading business, asset management, and transportation of energy. We have David Weatherford, who is a municipal attorney. He serves several communities. Notable today is Manford, and he will be talking to you as well. Aubrey Weatherford is the reason this thing's working, and we have Matt Burleson, who's helping us with the IT. So we appreciate our IT staff and everybody. So there's some new federal mandates that have come down out of the Biden administration. I don't think these things get communicated widely and deeply. I was shocked when I saw Randy's presentation. We made this video you're going to see available at our board retreat for the OMAG board. So Randy McClure with McClure Management has a lot of deep experience in this area of municipal services of natural gas utilities. I should have mentioned Gary. Gary, thank you for being here. Ran the prior system for a long, long time. And so we'll watch a short video on federal mandates that are coming down right now, and that's how we'll kick off. So thank you.
This is Randy McClure, and this is an update from our meeting on March 25th in regards to the grant monies requested on behalf of OMAG members who own and operate their own natural gas systems. I hope it's informative. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. And I want to thank especially Pamela Honeycutt and Bill Tackett for all of their help in this grant request. These are some slides I showed recently to a group of operators in Oklahoma in regards to the Notice of Funding Opportunity for the EPA mandated lowered emissions program, and hopefully you'll find this informative. These slides originally came from a webinar put on by PHMSA for operators and their state agents. In our case, it'd be the Oklahoma Corporation Commission, Department of Pipeline Safety. I found it interesting that in the opening remarks, they made sure that this was known to be a congressional mandate and that it is indeed fully funded through 2032. Under the main points, they show that the requirements of this congressional mandate do apply to all operators of regulated pipeline facilities, which would include Oklahoma municipal operators, and that the requirements are going to be to eliminate hazardous leaks, minimize releases of natural gas in any format, and replace or remediate pipelines that are known to leak. Under other statutory requirements and reports, notice that first bullet there, within 1 year after the Secretary's review of operator plans, the GAO will audit PHMSA on inspection processes. The second bullet mentions that the GAO will be looking at PHMSA data so they can include recommendations to further minimize natural gas emissions without compromising safety. Without being too cynical, it's maybe never been before where the GAO has made recommendations to a department as to how to do their work rather than their budget. But next bullet there shows that the DOT secretary will then consider and issue a report on best available technologies, practices, and facility design to minimize venting emissions. Again, it's a little bit outside of probably their wheelhouse, but this is pretty important to them, and I think that's the point. Slide 6 shows a breakdown of the data for gas distribution on these emissions that they're so concerned about. And by type or by source, they rank starting with service mains. So these are the main pipes that run down the street in any operator's neighborhoods. Residential meters and commercial industrial meters are the three big categories. Slides number 7 and 8 show you the two types of emissions that they are most concerned about. One is vented emissions, and the sources come from just normal operations and maintenance. There's a list there. And then on slide 8, fugitive emissions. So we have vented emissions, that's the kind we expect, and fugitive emissions are the ones we don't expect. And where vented emissions are from normal operations and maintenance, fugitive emissions come from operations and maintenance that's deferred. So people just aren't quite taking care of their pipelines and equipment as needed or as recommended by industry standards. Slide 9 shows the new inspection program protocol, if you will, where Corporation Commission will now be adding a whole new set of topics and areas to look at. As you can see, I marked with the yellow arrow the leaks and releases, and by far there are more questions under that than any of the other categories. So slide number 10 talks about inspection questions about leak mitigation and repairs. First, they talk about procedures, providing alternative methods, if you will, and procedures that define certain processes about mitigating and repairing leaks. And lastly, the last bullet is about lost and unaccounted for gas. And I bring that up and circle it because that is indeed what our first year budget or first year request under the grant is going to be for, is to determine a true baseline lost and unaccounted for measure for each of the operators, so that at the end of our 4 or 5 or 6 year term, we will be able to show and prove and measure by how much we have reduced the lost and unaccounted for gas by doing all the things that our grant request will entail. In these last couple of slides, 11 and 12, they just talk about enforcement options, being notice of amendment where maybe an operator hasn't adequately met the procedures, or the second one, notice of probable violation, where an operator has just simply failed to comply with the requirements. And then other enforcement options can be found in other parts of the federal code. On 12, they talk about an enforcement process. They're going to cite the act. And mostly, I just wanted to give you this slide to give you the more information link as well. So I guess now would be appropriate to see if anybody has questions about what you just saw.
What does it actually mean, the individual provider? So under this, each town would need to do an audit of their system to find out exactly what their unaccounted for gas is?
Yes,
Okay.
that's a good place to start, yes. The next place would be to make sure that you're in compliance with the needed new policies and procedures, because they are requiring an upgrade or an update to your operations manual with these new procedures. By the way, those are, and this isn't a plug, but those are available. They've been OCC approved. And you can call either me or Jeff Kennedy with PRC and we'll get you fixed up on what it is. Part of the procedures that they require is going in and wrapping around each individual operator's system. So you get kind of the vanilla flavor, but then to add the sprinkles, you've got to make sure that you bring it down a little bit more to your system. Any other questions about what we saw here? Okay. Really, I didn't have a whole lot else other than what are the gotchas? Just, cutting right through all the stuff. What's going to get you in this? Because a new mindset is sometimes not the easiest thing to overcome, to come up with. I look out here and I see some operators, we've got this 80-20 thing going. We've got 20% of the operators that are doing a bang-up great job. We've got 80% of them that struggle. It's revenue, it's a variety of things, but they struggle. And the mindset, it seems to be a thread throughout the industry, even with the OCC, is we've always done things this way. This is how we were trained. Unless we hear anything about it, that's what we'll continue to do. And this new law is a change in that mindset. They're trying to move people from what used to be the standard was, could this leak or vented emission, which is purposeful, be dangerous to life, health, or property? Well, now it's, can this leak or this emission be dangerous to the environment, and only the environment, unless life, health, or property is going to suffer somehow. And if you take all that to the logical end, there's really not a whole lot that you could not do to an environmental situation or could do to an environmental situation that would turn into a safety problem with natural gas. So they truly are moving from safety to environment. That's going to serve folks well if they'll jump on board, get ahead of it, and stay ahead of it, I think. They want, and through these procedures have outlined, they want people to start looking at what are the parts and pieces in your systems that need to be replaced, somehow remediated, or just repaired. So part of what this grant that Bill will be talking to you more about, part of this grant application is an engineer looking at systems and saying, hey, if we're really focused on emissions, these are the things that would need to probably be updated. The good part about all of this is they didn't just mandate something, they also paid for it. So they put some money out there. We've applied, OMAG has applied, and we hope to hear something fairly soon about that, and we'll know more. I believe also, too, Bill has a TAG grant that he'll talk to you about a little bit as well. Lost and unaccounted for gas. It is, I made a big deal about the GAO reviewing people's work habits. And if you really stop and think about it, the only reason they'd want to review somebody's procedures is to say, is there anywhere we can stick an invoice in the mail? They're looking for the vulnerabilities and the levers to pull, not just in gas, but it seems like, as I watched the news this morning, it's everywhere. But for us, it is them saying lost and unaccounted for gas is really the easiest measure we have, and it's reported annually. So everybody reports their natural gas lost and unaccounted for every year on their EIA report, I think, or their year-end report. The problem with that is everybody puts down 2%. And the federal government measures 12 billion metric tons of natural gas. And they say, yes, that 2% just really doesn't equal that 12 billion metric tons. So they realize there's a gap and they can go after that gap in a real easy way, and that's to monetize it. So we're trying to get ahead of this, bring you ahead of this, and not have you be surprised with an invoice in the mail that said, hey, your loss unaccounted for in reality was 10% last year. Multiply that times your hopefully new cost and you send us a check. So with that said, I'm here as a resource. I'd be glad to answer, like I say, any questions, or anytime afterwards, feel free to call me. Otherwise, if you don't have any other questions, I'll turn it over to Bill, because I think I'm past my time. So,
Randy, thank you.
you bet.
Randy and Buford and Tom and Steve and David are all part of the network we put together. They're available to you. You can access them directly. You can access them through me. If you don't have their contact information, OMAG has made those resources available as we begin this. So OMAG's response to these mandates is twofold. One is a TAG grant, technical assistance grant. That's a small grant. I will tell you that OMAG has never applied for a grant before in 45 years. We just haven't done that. But Susie has provided us the resources of having Pamela Honeycutt. She's a grant coordinator with several decades of grant experience. And so we've done something we've never done before. We've applied for 2 grants on behalf of all of the gas operators in the state. You all didn't know we applied for that on behalf of your systems. You're welcome. But we did that because quite frankly, most of our systems don't have the manpower or the staffing to apply for grants and keep up with them and not get in trouble with them. We don't know about the status of those grants being funded at this point. The first one is a $100,000 technical assistance grant. And the second one is Randy and Pamela did all the work on that. The initial grant request was for about $570,000. And that's for Randy's team to go around and be able to get a baseline on lost and unaccounted for gas emissions. Randy estimates it's a 5-year grant. It's funded each year. If we get the first one, we hope we will, then we would apply for year 2 through 5. Randy estimates today that the total of those grants would total up north of $80 million. And those would be available for all of our operators. It wouldn't be a top-down dictation that you have to do this or that. We would apply on your behalf. What brought this to our attention and brought this to a head, Randy McClure and I have been working since 2017 to try to figure this out. February of 21, we had Winter Storm Uri. It cost $195 billion of damage nationwide. Locally in Oklahoma, we had a number of communities that went upside down because the market went sideways, to the tune of millions of dollars. And when you're talking about most of our little operators in our community, Oilton or Burbank or Burlington or Covington or Ramona or Avon or Copan or Juan or Slick, on and on, they don't have the money and the resources when the spot market hits $200,000 in Manford, $1.4 million in Yale, $2 million in Chelsea. These are public figures. I'm not talking out of school. On and on. Mike Fina with the Municipal League went and got an appropriation for $5 million. Maybe Thomas in the back went and got it for him, I don't know. But Mike Fina went and got $5 million that helps our little towns and some of our bigger towns get out of the red. Now, that's what Mike Fina did. Also, he had a tanker truck come and hook up to Jennings and Howlett when they were run smooth out of gas. All right, we don't want to go shopping at the Salvation Army every Christmas to get our toys and our meals. We got out of this once because Mike went and did what Mike could do. And I don't even know if the OML board knows that or not. But Mike did something that was remarkable and got these towns back to level. But going forward, we can't rely on that. So what OMAG has done is we have gotten more than two, we've gotten but 2 University of Tulsa professors that didn't go out of academia into academia. We have Buford Pollard, who is a legal expert and attorney in the energy sector. I'm going to ask Buford to say a few words here in a moment, and Tom Singh. We have contracted with Buford and Tom as part of our partner network. They created an industry standard energy purchase contract. We sent that information to every one of your town attorneys, every one of your city attorneys, And just since it's just us kids in the room, I will tell you, we got exactly this in response, except for Darrell in Grove. Because this is a niche, small area of the law that people aren't familiar with, and it's hard to get folks' attention. And so the answer, we believe, is to go hire somebody who has expertise in this area, and Buford is the legal expertise in that. So Buford, say a few words, please.
As an attorney, you does a lot of things. I was at a conference one time, and they were talking about attorneys being, the lowest of the low. And I said, I started out as a sample catcher. And if you've worked on drilling rigs, you know what a sample catcher is. And I said, after 20 years, it's glad that he's still, sample catcher is the lowest law on the rig side. I said, after 20 years of experience in the business, is glad to feel that I'm really appreciated to be lowest of the low still. You get that, all that expertise. And be called in a small niche area, I actually agree with you. It is a niche area. And it's an area that I'm passionate about. And Director Singh, who knows, probably too passionate, because I'll go in his office and start running my mouth a little more than I should. But the point being is, it's an area that is an important area when it comes to energy. We talk about natural gas. Natural gas is a big part of the energy mix. At our house, my wife has advised me to have a little quiet time in the morning. And when I leave the house, that's when I can start listening to the news. And as I was driving this morning into TU, I was listening, I think it was CNBC or one of the financial business networks, and they were talking about natural gas and energy and how ESG has not been inclusive. And that's a new word I actually told one of my colleagues. I'm going to start using inclusive energy approach. And one of the other speakers said, if you want to find a European right now, just go to Houston. They're all scrambling trying to find natural gas in Houston, which that is the market right now. Of course, I'm leaving the market to my colleague, of course, but that is the world that we live in. Natural gas is considered a more inclusive part of the energy mix. It's going to be, the science tells us that, and it's something that you as Oklahomans can appreciate. I'll admit I'm a transplant. I'll whisper where I'm from originally, but the point is, it's something we can all appreciate here. And in Oklahoma, you're in the sweet spot. A lot of countries don't have that ability, and one of the things that, at least what I've been blessed with, is the opportunity through my career, starting as a sample catcher and working on the rigs and going to law school in Loyola, New Orleans, and then getting that background in legal and working for some great companies, contractor like Technique, and being able to develop this expertise so that I can see what you're going to have to go through with this tendering process. I know everybody in this room has had to go through the tendering process, for cars, for pieces of kit. I learned that. One of the other things I've been blessed with is working with engineers. And engineers, as a original geologist, you learn engineers really know how to do things. Geologists are always dreaming. And the engineers taught me workflows, request for proposal. In fact, I was at the factory club yesterday, and two chemical engineers were discussing an RFQ, and I had missed the conversation. My wife said, be more prudent. You don't need to jump into engineers' conversations. But I said, they started discussing commercial terms. And that's what this fits in. You have to deal with commercial terms. A lot of you may have done what we call sole source bids. That's not my favorite way, but you may have no alternative. But I always was trained in doing competitive bids. And there's a legal, not only is the law in energy a niche area, but being able, you can have attorneys and attorneys, but one of the benefits that I think expertise being in-house with Technique and any is you see that request for proposal or request for quotation process, the tendering process, you know what it has to look like. You have a do it process, you have a win it process, you have an executing process. And I see things as a good or bad as a life cycle. That's one of the things as a geologist is you see things full life cycles. And when I see these transactions, I see them as a life cycle. Whether you're going from the RFQ process to the letter of intent or a fully executed contract to performance to some type of warranty or claim issue, they have a life cycle. And you have to appreciate that. And one of the things that I think with our experience with the OMAG and some of the members here, I'm not going to disclose any names. They'll have to disclose any names they want to disclose. But that RFQ process and being there to support OMAG members is something that is for me, it's a pleasure. And we started out this year, actually last year. Into last year, we gave Director Singh and I gave a couple sessions at Glenpool and Woodward. to, you know, kind of like if you don't pardon the expression, kind of consciousness raising. Can I use that phrase? I think that's a phrase, consciousness raising on the issue. And then it kind of more evolved with time, and early this year we had the pleasure of taking what is the standard NASB, natural gas based contract, which is industry standard, and creating some special provisions to go with that are, as we'd say, you know, fit for purpose for the Oklahoma municipalities. Of course, not every town's the same. Grove's not Woodward. You know, they're all different, but at the same time, there's some niches there that they have commonalities with. And these provisions that we provided earlier in the year, I think, as every lawyer will tell you, they can always be improved. But that feedback we get from some of the discussions we've had, I think we're in a better situation than we were earlier in the year, and we look forward to not only helping you in your initial discussions. I'll admit, just from my own experience, I'm not gonna lie to you, anytime you get a contract in place, you send it out for the first time, it can be a heavy lift, depending on what the drivers are on the other side. But my experience has been, once you get that first framework in place, I've seen $100 million, billion-dollar operations contracted on a handshake because the terms were in place. It's just that first heavy lift. And I will tell you, this is a closeout on the concept of contracting and transactions. As a professor, I'm sure I shouldn't say this from my boss, it's the fact that it's nice to be commented on your knowledge and expertise, which otherwise I wouldn't have my job at TU. Thank you very much. Thank you, God. But one of the things I really appreciate from my students is getting that evaluation for respect. And that's actually the first thing I look at. When I draft, one of the things I learned, and actually one of the reasons I wanted to work for which is the Italian group, is a very fair and balanced contract. I actually remember a conversation when I was a baby lawyer, which you looked at me thinking, how long was a baby? But I was a baby lawyer at one time, and I was in a discussion with Williams. I was in Houston at the time. My project manager comes in and says, because everybody else is unavailable, he just grabs me. And we have this phone call with Williams and their attorney, and we're discussing pipe lay operations. And I put the mute button on and said, what Williams is asking for is reasonable. I don't have a problem with it. And sometimes there's a lot of emotion in these negotiations, but one of the things I think you'll find when I'm involved, to the extent I'm involved, is we try to do it fairly, we try to do it proactively. We also have it, not that we're trying to give away the farm, but prospectively understanding that bad things happen. There's probably another expression you might use if you were being more colloquial. And as a geologist, I'm not going to do it here, but I go through a list of things that can happen in my geology classes, and I also bring it into my law classes and say, this stuff happens. Let's draft to fit it, because we know it's going to happen. I'm not going to give you a lecture on that here today, but that's what we do. That's what I think we've developed that expertise. And again, I get called, I will admit, I love being called Poppy at home, mi amor, professor at TU, but also I like being called counselor, and to the extent you would like me to be your counselor, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Buford. Appreciate that. So, what is one of the possible answers? Well, we believe that one of the answers, we think the answer, it's up to the group of 48, 50 gas utility systems in the state. It's up to you all, but we think the answer is a coalition of gas utility towns. We think on the whole, in order to have the specialized legal and marketing and asset management, purchasing systems that you need, we think we need a gas coalition to be considered, and we think that's the way forward. The legal framework for that we would propose you all think about would be an interlocal agreement. Interlocal agreement is a very simple tool, and we're going to ask David Weatherford to talk to you about that now.
Bill and Susie, are you familiar with any interlocals in Oklahoma?
Maybe.
Maybe. OMAG's the most widely known. A group of cities can get together and create a structure to operate an organization. That's what OMAG did 45 or plus years ago. And cities choose to be a part of it because it's a good thing for the group. Why would we want to do that for gas? As an attorney for Manford, I am thrilled to have Buford help us. We're
I didn't
negotiating.
say that, you did. Appreciate it.
We are negotiating a contract that is over our heads. It just is. And I am embarrassed. I tell Tyler, the mayor, and Gerald that for 20 years we've done that. We all have, haven't we? For 20 years, we've engaged in business we didn't understand. And it's a bad way to do business. It's all good until something goes wrong. And in February of 2021, something went wrong. And we almost had a city go bankrupt. Not ours, fortunately, but others almost went bankrupt. Those contract provisions should have been different for all of us. And there are 3 or 4 big gas companies in Oklahoma who are middlemen providing gas for all of us. And they understand it much better than we do. We spent several years trying to understand it. But it is an extremely complex area, just in buying the gas. And someone made a fortune in February of 2021, and it wasn't us. So why should we consider an interlocal? Because we can do our business a whole lot better. We really can. And I would suggest we look at an interlocal. We've worked on a draft. I would like to have Darren at Grove, the attorney for Grove, help us with it. It would take each city agreeing to participate, but the idea would be that we operate as a group and we get in the business of protecting our interest by buying gas and helping each other. And we can do it better and we can do it cheaper with the right expertise. And I think that's the idea. And what that looks like should be up to the group of you, those cities who want to participate, how it's managed. OMAG's been a great resource. OMAG's offered to help us get this started, but it's got to stand on its own at some point. And the amount of, I think Tom's going to talk about the amount of money involved in gas statewide for the 50 gas cities is off the charts. This is sustainable and can be done. It's just going to take a lot of work with a lot of good expertise. So I think that would be the idea of how we do it. And it's not a foreign concept.
No, the interlocal is a proven way to have municipalities join together, share the resources, cooperate, and be successful. Tom Singh is an energy trader for 30 years, and he's going to give you information now on the finances and how this actually works as far as purchasing energy and managing assets.
I want to kind of jump on to what Buford mentioned. And really, you have to thank Gerald and the city of Manford, David Weatherford, really, because they came to me and they said, listen, we have this issue, we have a lawsuit involved. And so I was able to look at their situation and identify things that, in my opinion, should not have happened. And the first was a customized contract by that supplier. So what Buford and I, immediately flagged these standardized contracts that Buford's now gone through and tweaked. It's called a NASB. It's the North American Energy Standards Board. It's a standardized contract. Okay, NASB is comprised of what's known as the Council of Petroleum Accountants Societies, so energy accounting, and then the Interstate Natural Gas Association of America, so the interstate pipeline groups. They came together. This contract's been around for 30 years. It used to be called a GISB, and it's now a NASB. In my entire career, I never once sent out a customized contract, nor would I sign a customized contract. So I'm not implying that there was malintent, but I was very surprised that these suppliers were not using a standardized contract. You can get a copy of this online. We have to pay, but still it's out there. So that was kind of flag number one is, wait a minute, well, why are they just sending out, hey, here's our terms, hope you like them, as opposed to here's the standardized one. And as Buford has worked on, these contracts have special conditions. So that's your flexibility point. So they could easily have used these. So please, we did that for a reason. We encourage you, do not enter into a new contract. That's just some customized one that a supplier is providing you. Ask them why they're not using the industry standard, or as we're doing the case in Manford, send it to them. Here's what we're gonna insist that you guys use. So some of the ideas in the background here, obviously without Yuri, we wouldn't be standing here, we would not have this conversation, right? Because we would not have been approached about the situation Manford ran into and then all the other municipals and towns. And so when I figured out exactly what was going on, you know, for me, I was a gas buyer 100% of the time when I was doing it. You know, Gerald, the rest of you, it's over here. It's this piece, right? As David said, it's rocking along and everything's fine until it isn't. And so we started talking about the things that happen. And none of you have the time to be natural gas experts or legal energy contract experts. And so that's sort of what evolved this idea of, well, wait a minute, there is strength in numbers. So what, you know, Bill's proposing is along the lines of a credit union. I belong to a credit union. It's there for the benefit of the members. It's not this profit-making initiative. So this would be member-owned and operated. The proposal would be to hire someone full-time who would do the buying and the day-to-day monitoring of your business, of your balances. And I don't know if there's anyone here in the room, and again, I'm not trying to criticize your current supplier, but do you feel confident that while you're in the room today, they had checked today what your demand looks like and what your supply looks like, and they're gonna do that tomorrow, and they can do that every single day? Because that's one of the things we found out was these suppliers were not watching the business on a day-to-day basis. So this person would be responsible for doing that as well. And they would be your singular contact for things like gas acquisition, your nominations and scheduling, okay? Also asset management. So, you know, Gerald has firm transportation on Southern Star, and he has some storage in Southern Star. Is Gerald in the business of buying, selling? No, it's something he has to do. So again, this person would have that level of expertise to manage his assets, okay, but also make recommendations from time to time. So one of the things that we also think about is, what about the fact that, again, I know a lot of you are on Southern Star, a lot of you are on the One Oak system, whether it's OGT direct or it's through One Gas. We would look at the potential. Maybe we need to have a small amount of storage, okay, for two reasons. You use storage to take advantage of price situations. I mean, you know, you've got your base load sitting there and you're covered, but wait a minute, what if prices dip and we have an opportunity maybe to buy some gas at a lower price and put it in the ground? But more importantly, storage is there for emergency purposes, right? Hot summers, I mean, you know, it happens. Our demand is still wintertime, but we see these spikes in the summertime as well. So again, it would be something to be looked into, and then everyone in the group gets the advantage of using it. In other words, this person who would buy the gas that the group needs, again, it would be a bit more of a bulk purchase because it represents everyone. They're also looking at these other opportunities, and if they can buy a little bit of storage space, they're gonna manage that, again, on behalf of the members. And so if you're short one day, one city's short, and the other ones aren't, guess what? We can pull a little gas out of storage to do that. The key point, though, for me is this is for you. This person works for you. They're not getting bonuses. They're not trying to maneuver positions around to make additional money for themselves. Any type of optimization of your agreements or your gas purchasing flows back to the members. And so again, it's you know, I say you would be controlling it. This person would be controlling it on behalf of all of you. And you would have contact with that person. And so their livelihood, their job depends on making sure that everything is going well for this group of people, as opposed to several different suppliers who you're not really sure about, who might be giving you their version of a contract that potentially they should be giving you. So that's kind of the, yes, I do want to emphasize two things, or one thing in particular. No, two. We don't know that Uri can't happen again, right? No guarantees. The idea here is, okay, if it happens again, at least you will know every best effort's made on your behalf, not on behalf of the company that's trying to make profit. And then the other thing is that, you know, that person is going to be, that's their job every single day, monitor stuff. And guess what? If they're not doing their job, we'll find someone else to do that. So any questions about kind of what we're thinking here? Yes, sir.
No, I'd just like, I'd like to suggest that you add a point to that, and that would be monitoring what's happening with the Corporation Commission. We were
Sure.
blindsided, City of Tuttle blindsided, we got a notice from our supplier, our wholesaler, that our tariff for transporting our gas is going up significantly.
What pipe was it? What pipeline was it?
To the point that we're gonna have to raise our customers' average monthly bill about $10 per month starting next summer.
And then who's the transport?
We were.
One Gas or GT?
OMG.
ONG, yeah, One Gas.
We got the same thing,
Yeah,
going up like $4,000 a month.
Yeah, our percentage increase was almost 400%.
right.
And we called the Corporation Commission and talked to them, and unfortunately, we couldn't protest because the hearing was
You already
in
had it.
December of last year.
Sure.
We had no idea that
Yes,
we had the hearing.
which is unfortunately how the major utilities in the state operate.
Yeah,
So
So
to-
the other
yeah.
part of that is we tried to, when we talked to them, we said, well, how many other cities did you send notices to? And they said, but that's privilege, we can't tell you.
So to your point, again, you know, and Bill has said this too, feedback from what you would like to see. You know, we have our ideas. What do you think? Things that you think you'd love to have this particular person or this entity do? Certainly stay on top of things like that. You know, I have a background in that. I could tell, I could have talked about the tariff changes and things of that nature. And then also this person too, to me, probably put out a monthly newsletter just about the market, what's going on with natural gas. Because all of a sudden, you know, let's just say if you're buying some monthly gas and next month it went way up, whoa, wait a minute, how come, you know, this person that's supposed to be taking care of our accounts didn't tell me, hey, guess what, the market's doing this and here's why. So to give you that ongoing understanding and knowledge about the marketplace. So hopefully there aren't any shocks, there aren't any things that just, so yeah, I would encourage you to tell Bill, listen, I like this idea, but can this person also be doing these types of things? Because the person that we would end up looking at is going to have expertise in these areas. Otherwise, there's no point in bringing someone in because they're not going to help you to the extent that we envision this position.
I believe we also need to lobby, whether it's in Washington or on 23rd Street, probably both, what I'm gonna call the price gouging of Uri. As you well know, the cost per cubic foot of gas jumped up from $4 to $1,000.
$1,500 at one point in time.
Yes,
In Oklahoma.
and yeah, and that's absolutely, you know, for us, there's no way we can afford to pay that for gas. So we need to protect the municipalities from that type of and our customers from that type of gouging.
Sure. Well, and to be honest with you, that's also part of this because, you know, if a Uri were to come again, the idea is this person is watching your accounts every day, making sure you're balanced. They better know that the weather's coming. They better be on top of the market to understand, oh gosh, if the cold front's coming, we're gonna have freeze-offs. There's a potential for prices to go up. Hey, guess what? I have an opportunity to buy a little bit of gas and stick it in the ground. I mean, this person works for you. So instead of that knowledge being at a marketing company where they can say, oh boy, it's coming, it's good, we can charge higher prices, they're gonna be proactive and say, well, wait a minute. I've got people I represent here. How do I mitigate this potential price shock that could happen? So yes, that would be definitely. As far as the other, this is my soapbox. I'm greatly disappointed by the governor and the attorney general for not pursuing that. They came out. They sent a letter. There's a buddy of mine at a marketing company in Tulsa. They got a letter that they were going to come and look at their records. 2 weeks later, nothing happened. And instead, the OCC said, well, we'll just let the utilities charge all of us an extra $10 a month, extra $5 a month for 20 years.
Yeah.
So there was that. Whereas, and part of the problem, to be honest with you, is the intrastate situation. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission has a market manipulation investigative team. It didn't happen on the interstates, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm very disappointed in looking at it. But I'm glad you all got some relief.
Hopefully you guys have got a flavor of the team that we've been able to assemble because of the resources that Susie's made available. So what are we proposing? We're proposing that we enter into an interlocal agreement where we have a coalition of gas communities that belong to the interlocal that could purchase gas through the interlocal that you would own and operate just like you do OMAG, right? We're owned by cities and towns, created by cities and towns, and governed by cities and towns. Our governing body's in here today. And it's no different than going to state bid for trash dumpsters or cop cars. There's bulk purchasing that's been around forever. You know, there's power in going to the market with a bigger checkbook than Oilton is. Market doesn't care about Oilton. They just don't. It's not big enough to move the needle. We need we need a contract that's written on your behalf, not the provider's behalf. We need energy purchasing and an asset manager who works for you, not the gas company. I'm a private sector guy, but these are utilities that are required for our communities. Your high school football coach in every one of your towns is paid, not a volunteer. The people that serve on town boards are volunteers. Thank God for them. But if you have to pay a high school football coach, then you probably ought to have to pay somebody that's gonna run a gas town. If every one of us was an owner in the Manford Gas Company, we'd have a meeting and we'd be making a profit. We'd know what our P&L looked like, and it would be sustainable. We asked everybody across the state to send us their energy purchase contracts and some sample invoices. We got about 23 back, which is okay, I suppose. Out of that 23, 16 included information on what they pay for adder. It ranges from a penny per unit to 50 cents, depending on how big you are. We added all those up, and of the 16 that we have information for, and there's about 48 gas systems that we would initially want to target. Of those 16, in total, they pay about $133,000 a year to the gas companies for adder. You guys understand what I'm saying? That's existing money that you're already paying. It's not new money. You're already paying that. Now, that's just the total generally of 16 of the 48 towns. Tom has given me an estimate of about $170,000 to start a back office operation that would purchase energy, manage assets, and transportation. Now, you heard Tom say that some people were in the pipeline on a firm basis. I didn't know what that meant, but what's the non-firm basis? Interruptible. So I didn't know that. You fill a whole book in a library about stuff I don't know. If you're in the pipeline on interruptible, you're paying a nickel, and Tyler says he'll pay 6 cents, you get kicked out. If you're in on a firm, Tyler can bid $1, you're still in there. A lot of our people were on interruptible, got kicked out, and they didn't have storage, and they hadn't gotten contracts that were being properly administered. We believe that there's enough existing current expense without new dollars to fund a back office operation that would work that would be a person that would purchase energy, manage assets, and storage and transportation.
So that's including benefits, that's not just an
No, that's benefits and everything. That's
$170,000, but
Tom's, we've already negotiated your price, it's less than that. We want to emphasize that we can't tell you that any of the gas you buy will ever be cheaper. We can't tell you that. I can tell you that if you go back and you look at your insurance premiums from OMAG, they've been like this for years and years and years and years and years. They haven't been like this. You know what you don't like when you make a budget in municipal government? This. You want this. We can't say that you'll get less expense. We think you will. We can't guarantee it, but it would be savings for the organization, which is you, not profits for a private company. What's OMAG's response? If we get sufficient enough people to sign an interlocal agreement to create a coalition of natural gas towns, Susie has said that we will be able to provide technology services for you all. There's already an Oklahoma Municipal Natural Gas Coalition, omngc.org website up right now, and the 12 towns that have joined us by Zoom have gone to that website. So email, phone, internet, we would be able to provide that for a startup basis. Accounting for Brian Holland, our CFO, we could provide accounting, accounts payable, accounts receivable, accounting services to help get the thing started, not on a permanent basis, to help get it off the ground. We imagine somebody, because Tom would be the one recruiting the person that we would hire, we imagine they would be out of the Tulsa area. If for some reason they were out of Oklahoma City, we would provide office space for them. And finally, they'd have access, all of you all in the interlocal would have access to the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group Partner Network, and you've heard from all of them today. What's the next step? The next step is to create the interlocal. Why do you need the interlocal? Because number one, we started off with the federal mandates. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but a lot of you don't know about those. We're going to make that video available online on the website so that other people back at your hometown can view that. Federal mandates. You need a strong organization like an interlocal to address those federal mandates. OMAG has, on your behalf, applied for 2 grants. Hopefully the modernization grant gets funded. Hopefully they both do. The initial funding for the modernization grant's about $570,000, north of $80 million over 5 years. This is a big step for our OMAG board to approve us to do. Now, we're your insurance provider, but more importantly, we're your risk management provider. And we stand in your place. And so we will create an interlocal. It'll be up to you all to, and then the next step is for me and the team to go in person to your communities and educate your staff and your elected officials on what the need is and what the answer is. And hopefully the interlocal will get off the ground by enough communities committing to that interlocal. And the final step will be to actually hire the person and get it started. Of the 23 contracts that we got samples of, all but 2 of them said that the agreement was terminated. You could terminate the agreement with 30 days notice. So these are evergreen contracts. I saw one that went back to 1996. It's never been changed. Two of the 23 said that they could be terminated 30 to 60 days prior to the end of the term. Now, will everybody join and will we be buying gas for everybody immediately? No, we won't. But we hope in January, February, March of next year, if this is going to come alive, it will come about at that time. And as we're able to get commitments from people, and you're able to give that 30 days notice, then the interlocal would begin to purchase energy on your behalf with an energy standard contract that's written on your behalf, a person that's working on your behalf in the market to get you the best energy pricing.
For $170,000 a year.
Including benefits, which are apparently very generous. What's the goal? You start with the end in mind. We want 3 things. We want safe natural gas systems. We think if the modernization grant comes through, lots of your pipe and lots of your meters and lots of your regulators and city gates and all those things will be new. Because the Biden administration has made all these billions of dollars available for the 700 municipally run natural gas utilities across the nation. They'll be safe. Why does OMAG care? Because we don't want to pay a bunch of claims. Why do you care? Because you don't want your workers or your citizens hurt. They need safe systems. They need to be profitable. We run off sales tax. How much sales tax is in Knowlton? Not much. No. I'm not picking on Kenneth. He just happened to sit there. There's a lot of our little towns, you know, if they don't have a gas system, Mayor Sperry doesn't have a ton of retail. You have to run a profitable system. It has to be safe, it has to be profitable, it has to be resilient. It has to be resilient. And you guys have a lot on your plate, and buying and managing gas is not the primary thing, I'm just sorry to say, in many of our little towns. They just aren't. OMAG wants safe, profitable, resilient systems that we insure. And when I say we, I mean us'ns, because you all are in OMAG. You've been generous with your time. I hope what we're trying to accomplish is clear. We intend to come to your communities and talk to your staff and talk to your elected officials about what we're trying to accomplish. We have a timeline of trying to get an answer as to whether this will work or not by January, February, or March. And if it'll work, and I hope it will, I think it will, I think it should, then that's what we would try to get to do. Questions or comments at this time? Any questions, any unclarity, anything that you have a question about? Larry?
How do you divide up the 170? How does that work? Divide it by 48, 23, what's the number?
Yeah, well, it would be by the number of the people that's participating in the interlocal.
By population, by
And,
volume?
well,
No, the proposal would be that there's an adder per MMBTU on your usage,
Based on
Volume.
on
all
volume.
sites?
Yes, sir, yeah. So
Which
no,
should-
essentially transfer the adder that you're paying various suppliers right now for an administrative fee,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it's now being run by you.
Tom, is that the only profit they make from us? The adder?
No, we know that's not the case, David.
When you say volume by the amount of gas sold, not the customer base?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct,
all right.
correct, yes,
All right.
yeah, which is essentially what you're being charged by now, right? The adder that a supplier gives you is to say
It's based on
a
the
price
consumption.
plus 4 cents per MMBTU actually
Right.
billed, yes, sir.
And we haven't talked about that other profit, but we think there's a lot of other profit that would not then be going to the middleman.
Correct.
Some people got some houses in Colorado out of that, didn't they? Out of that story.
Tom, go take the microphone for a second and tell them how other profit can be generated by to the market, please.
So, honey, how much time you gotta get today? So you know that the market's changing constantly. We're sitting here and prices are doing this. Oil's running back up towards $90. Natural gas is headed back towards $8. So what these companies do is, yeah, they'll take on small municipalities, but they're going to aggregate those. That now gives them a position, let's say on OGT, on Southern Star, right? They're also trading in different areas, different regions. So it's about taking all of that portfolio of supplies and markets and optimizing it. They have storage, they have firm transportation. So every single day, their job is to, how do we maximize our profit today with this portfolio? Maybe we put a little gas here in storage. Maybe they've got some gas in storage. Maybe they're using gas in storage at Gerald Head and they sell it in an open market one day, make a profit, and then unfortunately for Gerald, 2 months later, forgot to put it back in. But all these, it's about asset management, which is also part of what we're talking about here. This person would be an asset manager for all of you who have storage already or have firm transportation agreements. They would be the asset manager to make sure that you're balanced, that you don't run into penalty situations. But there are a lot of ways, because the market continues to move, where they make their profit. They don't make money selling you gas at some price plus 4 cents. It's the fact that they now have this position and they aggregate that gives them a larger footprint, as we say, and they're moving parts. Part of the problem that happened with Uri is some of these players were not big enough to respond to that emergency. They weren't trading enough areas to move gas around to get it to Oklahoma. So again, without getting into specifics, there are ways that positions can be manipulated to make additional money. In essence, if those opportunities present themselves to the person who's working on your behalf, then you are the beneficiaries. But to Bill's point, no guarantee that this means lower prices. Just the confidence that you're getting what the market price is, and it's not being marked up. And nobody's going to go buy a house in Colorado from some bonus they made off of you. Seriously, that's the idea. The idea is, hey, hopefully you sleep at night. You don't have to go, oh God, what's going on with my gas situation? That's really ultimately the thing, because we're finding out that these suppliers weren't watching your business on a day-to-day basis as needed. And so now this person works for you, and again, if they're not watching their stuff, then that's what they're hired to do.
Jim, probably should have asked this question in our board meeting. Does it make any sense for a city like Midwest City? We're buying a lot of bulk gas, anything over 1,000 dekatherm. We pick sites and we buy bulk gas, and it's all on market, negotiated. Does it make sense that, I know this not in the beginning, but at some point that this interlocal could represent others that are buying bulk gas together to
And Tom, that
negotiate
happened
for-
with a number of cities. City
Yeah,
of Tulsa
right.
does that. For city facilities, they buy, when the industry was deregulated, they went out and entered into contracts
Right.
with some of the same suppliers we're using.
Yeah, exactly.
They are the
Yeah.
same suppliers.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
Yeah, and that would be the idea, seriously, is to have buying power.
Our pool of cities may not be the 48, it may be 100.
Now, when you say you buy bulk, where do you have storage?
No.
No.
Okay, so if you might enlighten me, give me an example of what do you mean by you're buying bulk? What happens?
So we go through constellations.
Okay.
So it can be, we can lock it at a certain market
Yes,
price,
right.
or we can ride Right.
Right.
and the
But
fuel
it's
costs are-
delivered uniformly.
And it's delivered uniformly, and then we pay a transportation fee
Right.
like a nickel.
Right, gotcha, okay, yeah, that can be done. That's the idea too, is to not change the way that you currently acquire the gas. That if this is what you're going to do, then this person would need to know that and then say, hey, you know, I'm looking for opportunities to do this and this, here's what we've done in the past. That is the idea, yes. That's why this idea, let's just say there's even a small amount of storage capacity available on one gas storage system to give the flexibility to everybody.
Chief, Bill, I told you I wouldn't talk because I'm interested in getting to lunch too. But what I'm hearing, and you gotta dumb it down for me because I'm from eastern Oklahoma. Sorry.
So am I.
Okay, there you go. I'm hearing you say that we could end up having more control on a daily basis of what.
That is exactly the point. Yes. This person is watching every single town's positions every single day, going out to the pipeline bulletin boards and going, okay, yep, everything matches up. They're in balance, go to the next one, they're in balance. Watching the market, watching the weather, those types of things. To where they go, hey, wait a minute, you know, who knows, this person is a person that does this for a living. I mean, I'm in TU, but I have people in mind already. They do this for a living. I'm not taking them from one of the suppliers, but these are knowledgeable people that I would consider would come in and they would do this. So instead of doing it for a Constellation or a Clearwater or a Blue Arc, they would do it for you guys.
Okay. Bill, what is the timeline of getting this implemented?
Well, unless I get a shock collar put on me, we will start going around to do in-person education with staff and elected officials later this month, with a runway towards January, February, March of next year. David has a draft interlocal put together. We will make that available when it's a little firmer put up on the Municipal Gas Coalition website. We'll make everybody aware of it. I will tell you that because OMAG is on the hook potentially for these significant dollars in the grant administration, that the draft interlocal does contain a part of the board would be comprised of OMAG board members. I think that's fair to OMAG. And so we would probably be pretty firm on that.
Bill, it takes 2 cities to create it. 2 cities is the 2 who initiated it. It takes approval from the state. Tyler and Gerald may not know it yet, but Manford's one of those 2 that's already willing to be one of the instigators of the interlocal. We'll have it on their agenda next month, hopefully, to discuss it with the full board, and I don't have any doubt they'll be on board with it. It needs another city who is a willing participant to create the formation document.
Could be Jones.
If Jones wants to do that, we'd be glad to get it started that way. And we'll get it to you so you can
So
look at it.
if you pinky swore to sign the paper, I would ask you to make sure you get your lunch ate. That's important as well. Look, when you guys hear me talk at our recognition training, you hear that I say, I don't know anything new, everything I got's old or stolen or both. This is the MISO model, guys. I'm not a genius here. And if we get this thing off the ground, City of Stillwater burns a ton of natural gas spinning those electric turbines. MISO buys a ton of natural gas. Midwest City buys natural gas. There's all kinds of ways that we can accumulate and congregate more units to go to the marketplace with. Now, will they do that? I don't know, but it's out there and it's a possibility. Thank you for coming.